howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about a GOP gerrymander backfire in Utah. In a turn of events you couldn't possibly predict, especially with the current rhetoric from Republicans aimed at California's move to ask voters for permission to not use the Independent Redistricting Commission. A federal judge has ordered Utah to redraw its maps. The maps are widely seen as heavily gerrymandered, and have been since they were drawn up in 2021. And it certainly appears the Republicans engaged in cracking, which is where you split up a geographic area that favors your political opposition. The map literally divided the Salt Lake area, which is a Democratic center, among all 4 congressional districts, diluting their voting power. But that's not the surprising or funny part. Despite current rhetoric, the Republican Party has engaged in heavy gerrymandering all over the country for years. The funny part is why they have to redraw their maps. District Court Judge Diana Gibson's ruling said, quote, "The nature of the violation lies in the legislature's refusal to respect the people's exercise of their constitutional lawmaking power and to honor the people's right to reform their government." So, what's that mean? The real problem is that Republicans ignored and weakened a nonpartisan independent commission that was designed to prevent gerrymandering and was created by voters back in 2018. That's right. As Republicans talk about how horrible it is that Governor Newsom is going back to voters to ask for permission to redraw the maps because California has an independent commission, the Republican Party in Utah was found by a judge to have simply ignored the voters. Something representer rule. The chair of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee praised the ruling and said, quote, "In throwing out the current gerrymandered congressional map, voters in Utah will now have an opportunity to elect leaders that best represent their values and not have their representation dictated by politicians." A non-gerrymandered map, or even lightly gerrymandered, would likely give the Democratic Party at least 1 seat. So what happens from here? Well, the judge wants new maps within 30 days, and the legislature will have to act fast to draw up the maps. However, there's a high likelihood that Republicans appeal and try to drag out the process, so they can at least use the gerrymandered maps that ignored the will of voters one more time during the midterms. Even though it's only 1 seat, right now Republicans are so worried about voters seeing the effects of Trump's policies and the fact Republicans in Congress barely push back on those policies. They are going to fight tooth and nail for that 1 seat. It's important to remember, the redistricting push is really about trying to stem the projected loss of House seats at the midterms, as voters sour on the One Big Beautiful for Billionaires budget. It'll be interesting to see this play out. We'll get a gauge of how bad Republicans think the midterms will be by how hard they fight for this single seat. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.